TikTokers, if you want to join on YouTube, feel free. The YouTube is Ryan Burden Speaks. What's good, everybody? Welcome to The Antidote. I am Ryan. Once again, The Antidote is where we break down the world's most pressing events, most heated conversations, and we search for ways that we can build community, that we can uplift common values. Also, that we can identify people who are just on the other side and are always going to be on the other side. So that is also a real thing. Today you can join on YouTube or TikTok. What's up, TikTokers? You get a little different angle on the TikTok or the YouTube, so check it out. This is weekly. We do this every Thursday night, so make sure you tell your friends, all of that. All right, so let's jump in, y'all. Let's jump in right away. We got a few stories that I want to talk about. The first is Donald Trump giving white South Africans, the right to migrate and refugee status. That is crazy. This is happening as he is deporting brown people, right? He ran on deportations. He said he was going to deport millions of undocumented people. He don't use that type of humane language. He says something else. But it is wild to see him say white South Africans can come here and be refugees. He is claiming that the government in South Africa is racially discriminatory towards white folks because post-apartheid, they are now actually addressing economic inequality. They are taking land back. They're actually taking land from white South Africans and giving it to black South Africans. For those of you that might not know, the Afrikaners came. They come from the Netherlands, and they took over South Africa, implemented a vicious system of apartheid, and benefited from white supremacy in much the same way that white folks here in America have. And so after the fall of apartheid, there was a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, oftentimes held up as sort of the gold standard for restorative justice at that level, at an international and federal level. But one of the things that it didn't do is address economic inequities. And lots of people now actually this week was the 35th anniversary of Nelson Mandela's freedom from jail. What's up, TikTokers? And people are fed up with the lack of progress and the slow pace of progress. And so they are demanding a change, which is, I think, very exciting. Here's the really important part. Elon Musk is from South Africa. Elon Musk's father built his wealth through emerald mines. He grew up in apartheid South Africa. His mother's parents, so his grandparents, maternal grandparents, actually came to South Africa from Canada because they appreciated the apartheid regime so much. Because they appreciated the apartheid government of South Africa. His grandfather on his mother's side, maternal grandfather, was actually a part of a Nazi-like party in Canada that was actually had ties to America, where they were looking for technocrats to take over the government because they felt like they were more efficient than elected politicians, which is wild and not much different than where we are at right now. And so, yeah, that is happening, y'all. What do we do about this? Like I said, this show is about finding common ground and where do we connect, and holding people accountable. We talk a lot about accountability on The Antidote. Well, here's the thing about accountability. Accountability is communal. And we don't hold, and accountability is reciprocal, right? And so when one party is not going to own up to what's happening, which is clearly the case in this situation, right? Donald Trump, Elon Musk, any of the mega people are not going to hold up their end of the bargain, right? Not at all. And so we are left in a situation where what do we do? What do we do? And so how we think about accountability needs to adjust. And it adjusts with thinking about how we build a communal consciousness that doesn't tolerate those things. And so it's super important for you all to get involved. Y'all hear me over here on TikTok. Get involved. Call your representatives. I know that feels like futile and super frustrating, but it's not insignificant. And it really is one of the only ways that we can. It matters. Go get involved in protests. Go get involved in all the things that you can that demonstrates that you're not going for this tomfoolery, that you're not going for the okey doke, and it's time to do something different. So that looks like also having these conversations in every space that you are, building a collective understanding that what's happening is wrong, what's happening is white supremacy, what's happening is fascism, and not moving off of that. Making sure that people understand that this is unacceptable and it's not going to be tolerated. So that is what communal accountability looks like. If you're wondering, like, anybody out there who is like, oh, Trump is, it's groceries. If you're still on that, I don't understand how you are on that, but in the case that you are or might be on that, this should make it plain to you that this was never about that. That's the okey doke, right? That we have been and will continue to be lied to about this. That this is not something where folks can ask ask people to do something different, right? We're gonna have to put pressure. We're gonna have to take direct action, and it's gonna require people to name the truth that's happening, the plain truth. And the plain truth is that black and brown people in Trump's world and MAGA's world do not count. They do not count as human. They're not seen as human. They're not afforded the same rights as folks who are seen as human. You should understand that as being white, cis, hetero, white, male. I'll add on there because white women, while they double down on their whiteness all the time, are not winning with MAGA for sure. Are not winning white women. What's up on TikTok? So we got YouTube here. We got TikTok here. You get to see us all over the place. Jump on either platform. So yeah, this is about race. Clearly, this should demonstrate it. This is unequivocal. If you're like, oh, he didn't really mean shithole countries, or oh, he was just throwing paper towels, or yeah, discrimination happened, but it wasn't because of it wasn't because of race that this was happening. There is no way to understand this outside of white supremacy, outside of racial domination. This move lays it all bare, right? And that's wild to have to say that because so many other things have laid it all bare. Elon's Hitler salute, all of that. We cannot be gaslit. That's what I need to say. And what's restorative about this, how we build community, is we leave the door open for people to come to these realizations, to recognize the truth, and come and ask how to make repair. So if you're watching this and you're like, hey, how I regret my vote for Trump, I'm MAGA, I'm starting to think maybe this ain't right. Some of this stuff is shaking me a little bit. Cool. Come on over. Let's talk about it, because we got to have space for that. That's what restoration's about. That's what we mean when we say we're not canceling anybody. That's what we mean when we say nobody's disposable. I think about, Malcolm says there was a time when you didn't know what you knew, right? But what we can't do is allow for continued harm to happen. That's what we can't do. right? And so as you come over, you got to be willing. You got to be willing to learn. You got to be willing to get with the program a little bit, right? Do your work, do the self study, understand what's going on, and so that is that story that I just couldn't believe it when I seen it. The the wildness, the audacity of it, it just takes it to another level. And I hope that more folks, use that as a springboard to leave and to question what they've been told. And they are not alone, which brings us to our second story today. What's up on TikTok? Thanks for being here. Invite a friend. Make sure you're here. You can also join on YouTube, streaming live on the YouTube channel. I think it's streaming live. I see people on there. I don't see nobody in the chat, though. We'll take the TikTok chat, too. If you got questions, throw them in there. I promise I'll get to them. But our second story tonight has to do with a trending hashtag, leaving MAGA. And some people thought they were clever in my TikTok comments talking about, oh, he said MAGA, it's MAGA, whatever. Say what you want. It's racist, is what it is. It's evil, is what it is. It's morally bankrupt, is what it is. And I'm not concerned about how you pronounce that particular acronym. But lots of people are expressing their outrage. And it's kind of like, oh, man, y'all fucked around and you found out. Of course, you fucked around and you found out. And that's a tempting place to be at, right? And if you're somebody that's skeptical right now and you're questioning, wait, are people actually leaving MAGA? Here's two examples that I shared on TikTok. If you're looking on TikTok, you can find this post. Because my post got just inundated with people telling me, oh, that's a libtard thing, and oh, y'all are just sore losers. Nobody's leaving. The ranks are growing. All this, and again, they're proving the point, right? Because in order to believe that, you have to believe that these groups of brown people specifically, and I want to be clear, it's not just brown people who are leaving. It's not just communities of color who are like, oh, we fell for the okie doke. It's not just them. But I want to highlight these two specific groups to demonstrate, one, that it is true, people are leaving MAGA, and two, that brown people don't count, and that MAGA is fundamentally about whiteness and white supremacy. So the first group I talked about was a group of Venezuelans down in Florida who held a news conference, actually, and the woman, the main woman who was there, had previously been on stage and campaigned for Trump, right? Y'all remember this? She said, we love you, Mr. Trump, all these things. And now she's doing a different type of news conference. Now she's mad because what did the Trump administration do? They stripped refugee status from Venezuelans and left them high and dry, left them assed out. And it's very tempting to be like, oh, look at y'all fucked around and you found out. I get that. I get that 100%. The lady says, the woman says, oh, people, they lied to us, they betrayed us, all that. Of course they did. They're liars and they have no loyalty and they have no scruples or moral compass. Of course, nobody didn't see that coming, right? Nobody didn't see that coming. Y'all with me, TikTok? And I'm checking. Hold on, let me check over here, see if any questions popped up. They have not. Please feel free to throw questions. In there. I'm here for all the questions. But yeah, that shouldn't be surprising. Though that group of people obviously clearly is leaving MAGA. Now, some people are like, oh, well, they're refugees anyway, they didn't vote, all that. That might be true for some of them. But there are a lot of Venezuelans here who are citizens, who have pathways to citizenship, who can vote, whose family were refugees, whose friends were refugees, and are now in danger of and have had that status stripped from them. And so they're also leaving MAGA. They're also realizing, hey, this is the Wizard of Oz, the pay no attention to the man behind the curtain type moves right here, right? What's up, TikTok? And so that's one group. The other group is Arab Americans for Trump. Arab Americans for Trump were very vocal, particularly in states like Michigan, where they were supporting Trump because they said that he was the peace candidate in the Middle East. He was going to bring peace to Palestine and Israel. He was going to end the war. And it's not a war. I refuse to say it's a war. He was going to end the slaughter of Palestinians by the Israeli government. And clearly that didn't happen, right? And I want to be clear, this is not caping for Kamala Harris or Democrats. I am not a Democrat. Can't be more clear about that. I am not a Democrat, right? And there's just no way, and I mean that quite literally, there is no way that the Democratic administration under Kamala Harris would have come out and said that the United States is going to own Gaza. And Trump even said there's nothing to buy. It's demolished. Think of it like a real estate development. These are people's lands. This is a whole group of people's homeland, indigenous to the land, right? And this is where he's at with this nonsense. And so the truth is laid bare. And this group, Arab Americans for Trump, has now changed their name to Arab Americans for Peace. Again, the urge to be like, duh, water's wet. It's cold in Minnesota in January. All of these things is overwhelming. What's up, TikTok? Thanks for joining us. You could catch it here. You could catch it on YouTube. And that's an overwhelming urge. I get that. I get that. And not helpful. Not helpful, because what we will all fuck around and find out is that if we don't create the space for people to join into the struggle, to join in and create a world that's aligned with values that people espouse on both sides, right? I made the mistake of, it wasn't even a mistake. Let me not say that. I commented on a childhood friend's post. His wife had said something, and it was about Kendrick's halftime show, which is going to be our final story tonight. Can't wait to talk about that. What's up, TikTok? What's up, YouTube? I don't know what's going on with the chat. Hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know what's going on with the chat. It's not coming through. I don't know what's happening. Stream settings. Hold on. Let me see. Listen, the joys. I have no producer, y'all. If you want to support and make sure I can one day get a producer, please hit the like and the subscribe button. That would help. That would really help, actually. That would be amazing. And I don't know why this isn't working. I don't know why this isn't working. Sorry. Here we go. We're gonna figure that out. I wanna keep going with the show though, because there's people on TikTok. What's up, TikTok? And yeah, we're gonna keep it pushing. Sorry that something's going on with the chat. Still tell your friends to come through and watch with us, right? So yeah, I commented, and in the course of this discussion, which I'm gonna come back to, it was clear that we did share some values. She wanted economic justice. She wanted economic prosperity. She wanted justice. She wanted to protect women's rights. We definitely differed on what that looked like and how that happened, but it would be wrong to say, that she's a bigot, that she's a hateful, evil person. Although she did take offense to me calling Trump a hateful, soulless, evil person, and so who knows? If you can't recognize evil, does that make you evil? I don't know. That's a existential question, I guess. What's up, TikTok? Sherry, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. Yes, hi. 8177, what's good? Thanks for joining us here. If you got a question on TikTok, throw it in the chat. YouTubers, we're gonna try to figure out this chat thing. I'm sorry that that's not working. But my point is, this group that's leaving MAGA, we definitely need to be open to the possibility that they can work to repair the harm that they helped facilitate, right? Everybody can grow. Nobody's disposable. That is not the same as moving off our position or compromising our integrity or compromising our values. We should never, ever do that. Let me say that again. We should never, ever do that. We should never compromise our integrity, sacrifice our values in order to get along with people who are supporting evil, straight up and down evil. The man is evil. His administration is evil. The policies are evil. They are the logical conclusion of whiteness, right? They are the shift to object science, rationale, technology. And if you watch The Antidote, you know what I'm talking about. That's where whiteness comes from. We move from spirituality, symbol, mythos, harmonium, to object science, rationale, technology. That's how we make sense of the world. And here we are, objectifying creation, exploiting each other, having AI rule the world, literally, as Elon Musk cuts every good thing that the government could do. And so here we are. We have to figure that out, right? And that is happening in my comment section on TikTok. Let me join, make sure I didn't miss any questions over here. I don't see any. If you got questions on TikTok, join us. Throw them in there, please. Please throw them in there. Yeah, so I was on my guy's post. I was there doing the thing and realized that it was affirmed, because I had already realized this, that we got to create the space to have these conversations, right? And lots of people have been lied to. Lots of people don't understand this is an issue of priority. And many of us aren't defending Dems as much as we're saying we have to mitigate the harm of how bad Trump is. None of us are saying, hey, it's cool that all that money went to Chelsea Clinton, for example, or this or that. It just because that happened doesn't justify the ending of humanitarian aid for the entire world, for example, or the shuttering of the Department of Education and USAID and all these other things, ending DEI, right? And again, the whole ending DEI thing, that our first story when we talked about the refugee status for white South Africans, demonstrates just how fragile and fraudulent that position is, how full of shit those people are. And if you know somebody that thinks different, I would invite them on and would love to debate anybody about that, right? And let me just say a word before I move on to our final story tonight. It's going to be a shorter show tonight. What's up, TikTok? Do you see that video by Macklemore? I saw a little bit of it. You know, Macklemore is always somebody who you can count on to come through and say some hard things. I don't always appreciate the aesthetic. Sometimes I think some of his bars are kind of corny, but I appreciate his intent. I got a lot of respect for him, for sure. And I think he's one of of many, hopefully, artists that are coming out to speak that. Ryan, I'm your cousin. What's up, cousin? I don't know what cousin you are, though. It's good to see you, though. Thanks for being here. Zoe, what's up, Zoe? How you doing? Listen, we talking about adult things, sweetie. You feel free to join. It's good to be educated. Yeah, so yeah, Macklemore's doing his thing. I think it's super important that artists are out here doing that, are speaking their truth, especially white artists. And I appreciate that Macklemore understands that he's a guest within hip hop. That hip hop is a black art form that requires admiration and respect. So I appreciate him using his platform for that. Absolutely. And so maybe that's a good segue, right? Like, so let's end this, because we talk about accountability here on The Antidote. The accountability for leaving MAGA is, you know better, now you got to do better, right? And plugging them in, and our accountability, our communal accountability, is to keep that possibility open, for as long as possible. I don't want to say no matter what. Thank you, Zoe. I appreciate that. Keep that possibility open for as long as possible, right? Unfortunately, I think that there's going to be these moments where we have to enter into conflict. And I pray it's not physical, and I don't mean physical. But I think that there's going to be these moments where we're going to have to say the things. We're going to have the rhetorical fight. I pray not the physical fight. And we're not, in those moments, we got to do what we got to do to stop immediate violence and harm. And even then, though, God willing, there's the opportunity to bring people back into the fold, to understand the errors of their ways, and to do better, right? And to create a more just world. If you are watching right now, thank you so much. Make sure you hit that like. Even if you're streaming, make sure you follow. Make sure you like. I think that's a thing that you can do on TikTok. Like I said, this is my first live on TikTok. I appreciate everybody coming in and out. Definitely appreciate that. This will be something that we do every week. Let's move to our final story tonight, and that is the way that white folks undies got in a bunch about Kendrick Lamar's halftime show. So this was actually the impetus for me commenting on my childhood friend's Facebook post, because he said the show was whack. It was the worst halftime show ever, I believe is what he actually said. And that was crazy to me. And then his wife jumped in the chat section and said, at least he didn't insult our president. And I was like, our president, my dude is from Northeast Minneapolis, and it might surprise people that Northeast Minneapolis has nothing in common with MAGA or Donald Trump. Not the Northeast that I knew. Maybe nowadays with the gentrification, it might, but definitely not the Northeast I grew up in. So I said as much, and then she engaged, and we had like I said, we ended up having a decent conversation. But it illustrates, right, this pushback for Kendrick Lamar, and not understanding what was going on. I don't even want to talk about the aesthetics of hip hop and can you listen to rap, right? I think that's a thing. What's up, TikTok folks? If you got questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I will answer them for sure. Gemini, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Here we go, back to the content, the story we're talking about. So if you don't know, Kendrick Lamar performed. His performance was magical in lots of ways, right? Was it as like flamboyant as some and like a spectacle? Nah, not really. It was more subtle, but it was magical in the way that he did what he did, in the context and in the space that he did it in. What's up, y'all? What's up, Tom? Thanks for joining. And what I mean by that is, first and foremost, the stage being a controller, right? That he's playing a game. Super brilliant. I think that's brilliant. And then there's the act of protest throughout the performance. The American flag being made up of black men, right? In that moment where it's the first Super Bowl with a president there, and it's Donald J. Trump is the president at that time. That is such an act of protest. That's amazing. But it wasn't that. Then Samuel L. Jackson and the Uncle Sam character is so layered. What's up, TikTok? Thanks for being here. Thank y'all on YouTube for being here. Make sure you hit that like. That Uncle Sam character, right? Reminiscent of his character in Django, where he was the house slave. But even his lines, there's one piece of this that I'll pull out to demonstrate what I'm talking about, right? Samuel L. Jackson says, "Nah, it's too loud, too ghetto." I'm paraphrasing, right? And Kendrick goes to Humble, the song Humble. Samuel L. Jackson's character comes back with and Luther with SZA, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, and then goes to DNA, and royalty got loyalty, and loyalty got royalty inside my DNA, right? Like the subversive protest in all of that. Not to mention the actual physical protests that happened, where under threat of lawsuit. Which, can we talk about Drake suing Kendrick? That is wild. That's wild. What's up, TikTok? Um, and so that's happening. They tell him don't perform Not Like Us. And I know some people didn't like that Not Like Us was teased or that it was played at all. I personally enjoy it. I think the song is a banger. And so I knew he was gonna play it. He had to play it. He just won Grammys, 5 Grammys for that. Anyway, for him to do what he did during that song, I'm not gonna, the like say Drake smiling at the camera, the A minor chain. It was just brilliant. And then of course bringing Serena out to C-Walk after she had got dragged, and I don't think a lot of people understood. She got dragged for C-Walking at Wimbledon, right? And so to bring her back out at the largest platform on the largest stage, and have her do that on top of that's Drake's ex, it is just chef's kiss for real. What's up, Daisy? Thanks for being here. This is The Antidote. For those on TikTok, for those that might be catching, what is this? The Antidote is where we talk about current events, the most pressing issues, the hottest debates, and we think about how do we engage with this in a way that builds community, that might build bridges, right? And what does accountability look like? And so we're talking about Kendrick's halftime performance and the fact that so many white folks were like, this was terrible, right? And part of that is just the aesthetic. They can't listen to rap. They've never listened to rap. They don't understand how to follow bars, lyricism, and that's fine. Like, I feel that way. Quite honestly, when I listen to country music, I just don't appreciate the aesthetic. I appreciate the artistry. I appreciate that. I'm not trying to dog country music or country artists, but it's just not my it's not my cup of tea. And so for some folks, Kendrick ain't that cup of tea. But I think the inability to appreciate the artistry, the inability to appreciate the brilliance behind it, the creative brilliance, says something else, right? It says that I don't appreciate blackness. Black artists can't do this. Seeing the American flag made up of black men is triggering. That's not the story I tell myself about America. And that's what we're really talking about here. That's where this is coming from. You had this black man being unapologetically black, with all these black dancers being unapologetically black on the largest stage. By the way, that was the most watched halftime show in history, beat Michael Jackson's. I think it was Michael Jackson's. Yep, Michael Jackson's. And what's up, TikTok? It's just an affront to what they think, especially in this moment when Donald Trump is there. And I love that. I'm here for that. But the thing I loved the most about this was one of his dancers towards the end, and you didn't see this on TV, pulled out Sudan and Palestinian flag stitched together. And if you don't know, both of those places are experiencing genocidal violence right now. And so it was like literally in every essence of the word, a protest moment. And I'm here for that. That is the type of accountability that we can continue to support. We can have these conversations with people who are like, I didn't like that. It was disrespectful. It was this. It was that. Nah, let's engage in that. Tell me, what did you find disrespectful about that? And if I'm not a patriot, I don't really rock with patriotism like that. I don't really understand it. But if you are patriotic, that's about the most American thing that you can see. Somebody using their First Amendment in that way to buck back against the most powerful systems in the world with the most powerful man in the world watching. I don't understand how you don't appreciate that unless you just don't like black people, unless you hate black people. And I think that's what's happening. And so what does accountability look like for these people? This is a little bit like, because you can have your taste, right? Like that don't really matter. I don't care if you like it or you don't. There's not really the accountability like, oh, you got to come around and appreciate Kendrick's stuff. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. But what I can say is that I think it's important to have people interrogate that and have them tell you why, right? Particularly with one particular critique that the what's up Mesh, what's up Karen, one particular critique that has been leveled against the Kendrick in the halftime performance, which was that he had no white dancers. This is the pinnacle of irony, because so many of these people, what's up Margie, so many of these people are carrying water for, championing the cause of ending DEI, and here they are complaining that there's no white dancers at a hip hop show. What is happening right now? It's just so ridiculous. Like, this is your brain on whiteness. This is our brain on whiteness. You're gonna rail against DEI practices that are responding to systemic discrimination that's well documented, that is just fact, and you're gonna rail against that because you want to see white dancers at a hip hop show. Let me tell y'all something. If you want a meritocracy, if you want merit, there's gonna be very few white dancers up there. We don't do that. Whiteness has kept us stifled. You want to get some white dancers, you better teach them to unlearn whiteness and get back in touch with their culture, because that's where that spirit comes from. That's where the movement comes from. Get back in touch with the heartbeat, right? That's what's going on there. Okay. And what's up, Solarline? What's up, TikTok folks? Appreciate y'all being here. This is The Antidote. We do this weekly, Thursday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. We're talking about the world's most pressing issues, the hottest debates, current events. And we're not just talking about it. We're looking for, how do we build bridges here? How do we build connections? How do we hold each other accountable? Because accountability is a communal process. And so what does that look like? And so that's what we're talking about. And we're talking about Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance and white people getting their undies in a bunch about that. What's up, TikTok? Look, we're running it up on TikTok. I appreciate that. Yeah, so that's where that is. And so when you come across people in your life who are critical of that moment, I want you to ask them to tell you more. What didn't they like about it specifically? Make them say the things, right? Make them say the things so that you can engage with the things in an honest manner. That's another thing that whiteness does. We leave things so blurry, so this. Like, nah, say the thing. You don't like DEI? What part of diversity, equity, and inclusion don't you like, right? You didn't like Kendrick's performance? Cool. What part didn't you like? What can you appreciate? This is the depth of the conversation. We got to interrupt our own stories too, right? Because we'll have stories. TikTok will have stories where in our heads, right? Like, oh, you didn't like it because you're a racist. There's a good reason for that to be a story we tell, but we don't know if that's true, right? Again, some people just don't appreciate the aesthetic of rap. That's fine. That don't mean that they're racist, but you got to be able to ask them that. And if they tell you that, cool, trust them. They might have appreciated the visual, and they might be able to tell you what parts of this performance did they like. We got to give that space. That's how we keep the door open for relationships. That's how we acknowledge, hey, there's this gap here that we do need to build a bridge across. We do need to build a bridge across it, right? And so that's what that looks like for that situation. YouTube, I promise you I'm trying to fix this chat, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So we're going to take questions from TikTok. And if you're on YouTube, jump on TikTok. Ryan Verdon Official. You can go ahead and follow me there and jump a question if you want to add questions. We're taking questions in the chat on TikTok. Look, I'm facing this way. Y'all get the different angle. You get to see Nipsey. Here's Pac and Nipsey. Got the world map right there. You know, social studies teacher had to do it. On YouTube, you get the moons in the background and John Brown, right? I think I did that the wrong way. All right, we're taking questions before we get up out of here. Who's got questions? Who's got questions? What's up? If you're following on TikTok, please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I would appreciate that. The more, the better. The more, the better. I'm not seeing a lot of viewers, a lot of questions. Your favorite student? That's got to be Anthony. Anthony, is that you? What's a gifter badge? I'm here for that. This is my first time. This is my first time on TikTok Live, y'all. I talked about the Palestinian flag and the Sudan flag. That's what I'm saying. There was literal protest there, yo. Loved it. It was it was metaphorical protest and literal, not or like subliminal, metaphorical and physical It was protest on every level. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. What questions do we got? We're taking TikTok questions tonight because something's happening with the YouTube chat, and I don't have a producer, and I'm technologically challenged, and I can't get the chat to work on YouTube. Next week, I promise we'll have them both going. We will have them both going. What's up, Brittany? Get a ceasefire. Biden and Kamala did not. Oh, you gotta say more. You gotta say more. What you talking about, Anthony? Nah, man. Are you saying Trump got a ceasefire? So for y'all watching, the question is that Trump got a ceasefire and Biden and Kamala did not. Is that what you're saying? Nah, man. But I think that. I mean, like, I guess in the most superficial of ways, that's true. But really, what we have to understand is that was always the plan, right? I think, I mean, Trump and Netanyahu were talking before the election, and I think Israel always knew they wanted Trump back. Trump was going to be much more friendly towards Israel than Kamala or Biden ever were. And so I think it was always the plan to keep the conflict going, to avoid a ceasefire, so that Trump could come in and they could say, look, Trump won this. And I think the concession that they made was that they were going to expel Palestinians, that they were going to ethnically cleanse Palestine. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think it is a win, right? Trump is doubling down on ethnically cleansing Palestine. He's doubling down on the United States is going to own this land. And Dems would, I said this earlier in the show, a Democratic administration and a President Harris was never going to say that. We're never going to do that. We don't hold the purse strings if we own it. That's the plan. Trump wants to go in and develop Gaza and have it be an American colony. He sees money. He sees money there. Right, Jess? That part. And so I think it's a mistake to think that Trump somehow won this, right? Even look at what just came out today about Russia and Ukraine. That goofball Pete Hegseth, that's his name? He's a rapist. He's all just a drunk, just an abusive, just a not good dude. Put it like that. And he just came out and said, yo, whatever Russia took from Ukraine, they're not getting back. Ukraine is not getting that back, right? And so that's where that is. And I don't think that's a win. I don't think that's a win at all for me. All right, y'all. We're about to get up out of here. I appreciate y'all. If you can, go ahead and like, follow, subscribe. Head on over to the YouTube. YouTube people, we appreciate you. We do this every night, every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 o'clock Pacific. Yes, much love. We appreciate you all. It really means a lot if you like, if you share, if you subscribe. If you come back next week, please, please, please do so. We'll be on TikTok and we'll be on the YouTube. Appreciate y'all. Again, nobody's disposable. Nobody is cancelable. We got to figure this out together because that's all we got. We got just us. Peace, y'all.